Welcome to episode 30 of the Flag Stays Down podcast, International Break Edition. Episode 30, man, we're starting to get into numbers that are a little tricky here. You got Rhys Taylor, former Welsh third string keeper, David Luiz for 1 year, I think, maybe a season and a half. And you don't see Ben Ayoun. I was trying to think of a nickname for him. I got nothing. Nothing appropriate. Who are we taking out of those three?
Gotta be.
I'm taking the OG shithousery David Luiz. That's my guy. And I was a little bit before the Ben Ayoun era, so didn't get to watch him play as much.
He was trash. He came over from Liverpool, did absolutely nothing. So I'm with you guys, David Luiz.
Yeah, David Luiz all day.
So how are we doing on this Sunday, Matt? What did you do today?
Well, we had a guest in town for the weekend, so she packed up and headed back to Green Bay. So it was cool hanging out with her, one of Molly's friends. And then went my standard Sunday, went to church, and then went to help a friend who is remodeling her bathroom. So she needed help with doing some baseboards and some trim. And so I was over there helping her and just getting some stuff done, and came home, threw some steaks on the grill, and had myself a good meal. And here we are. Parks, what about you?
You left out a key crucial detail, Matt, which is you went to Total Wine as well, right? I mean,
at this point, I think that's a given.
Did you pick up anything from our friends at Central Standard? Central Standard?
I unfortunately did not. And that is something that is going to be on my to-do list the next time I go, which, if I check my calendar, is probably going to be like Wednesday. So I will make sure that I pick up some good stuff from Central Standard.
Gotta look to fly the L and drink the tears of Cub fans.
Absolutely. Anything to disappoint Cubs fans more than they already are.
No to Ricketts.
Hashtag no to Ricketts. We'll get to that later, though. Yeah, my Sunday was pretty good. With no Chelsea, no soccer to watch, I tuned into the F1 race, and then I played some video games with my wife. But other than that, just got some stuff done around the house, man. It was pretty chill, pretty relaxing. I have two very sleepy dogs that cuddled with me on the couch, so enjoyed some time. It's been it was a tough week at work, so I definitely enjoyed to relax and decompress a little bit.
Very nice. I'm jealous of you two. I spent all day on my couch, but not in a good way. I'm a little under the weather, so I apologize in advance. For those of you who love listening to me, I'm probably not going to talk a whole lot on this one. But yeah, I don't know. I wish I'd be drinking some Central Standard. Matt, maybe I'll tag along with you on Wednesday.
Sounds good. Collins, I have to ask, is that a Milwaukee Milkmen hat?
Sure is.
Oh, fantastic.
Good old independent league baseball.
Yep, right in the backyard.
Can't wait for any baseball to start back up. The spring training gave me that little taste. It's man, now it's just an itch I can't scratch. Phrasing.
I think they have a cream for that.
Thank you.
And thankfully you have baseball to watch because it's officially back. So congrats for that, Collins.
Woo! Go team.
Big win.
All right. Well, let's get off of baseball and turn our attention to what news there was out there. I feel like we had like 4 straight weeks of just more than we could talk about on one pod, and now this week we have like just a couple nuggets here and there that we got to try to read into. So again, it's the international break. Several Chelsea players out with their national teams. Shout out to Christian Pulisic for the hat trick tonight for the U.S. Timo Werner on the score sheet for Germany. That was all I saw. I don't really follow international soccer a whole lot, just because a lot of it's at night, and I've been now conditioned to watch soccer in the morning, so I can't watch it at night. But I do real quick want to touch on Timo Werner. Again, he was on the score sheet against Israel. whoop-de-doo there. But after scoring against Israel, he comes out and says there are differences in the style of play between football at Chelsea and here, meaning the German national team. Maybe the one at the national team suits me better. Here, I always have scoring chances. I can score goals. I feel very comfortable here. Kind of an ominous statement. I'm sure maybe we're taking it out of context a little bit. That's kind of what social media does with that kind of thing. But it does kind of have shades of Rom in that statement. So I'm a little upset with Timo. I'm a little, fine if it doesn't suit you and you're not playing well, this summer, get out. But I'm curious to know from your guys' perspective, am I overreacting there, or is this just kind of a nothing burger?
I don't read too much into it. I really don't. Timo is somebody that the fans love. He doesn't produce as much as we would like him to, and he doesn't produce as much as he would like to. And I think in that standpoint, he has the same expectations that we do. And I can definitely understand that. And he's somebody who's very self-aware, so he gets it. I mean, we've been having to deal with all this media bullshit for so long this year and so many different occasions. Okay, fine. Playing in Germany, playing with Germany is going to be different than playing Premier League. But at the same time, you're with the top club in the world, right? Not everybody is going to be a slouch that you play week in, week out. It's just a different expectation level that we expect, and that he's realizing he needs to get up to. And I think he's working hard to get there. Things just haven't clicked. I think I sent you boys the thing about Ziyech. What he was saying, it took a long time for me to adjust, probably more so than others. But now you're starting to see the things that I'm capable of. And I think we're kind of at that same point with Timo. Granted, Ziyech is 29 and Timo is 23, 24, something like that. He's a little bit younger, but I mean, he's moving around to a brand new league and, just trying to get himself sorted out. With Germany, yeah, he's a different player. But then again, so was Rom with Belgium, right? A lot of these players are different when you put them on international break. Take a look at Christian, right? He's the one running the show. With Chelsea, he's kind of an afterthought when you look at the amount of talent that we have on the starting 11. So I don't read much into it. I would say it is an overreaction.
I don't read much into this statement. I mean, the press is going to ask questions about stuff like this when they see a goal. Timo comes out and scores a goal, and I think Kai got on the score sheet too, if I'm not mistaken. But Kai's been scoring for Chelsea, so he doesn't kind of get the same question asked, and it's not really made a big deal of. But the biggest part of that statement, and what I read into, is the last part about feeling comfortable, because I think Timo is so out of confidence at Chelsea that he's in his own head, and he's not, just confident that he's going to do the right thing and make the right move and control the ball when it kind of comes his way. So, the going back to Germany and the German national team, something he is very comfortable with, something he's grown up, and the guys around him, he's kind of grown up, and you have that intrinsic, where I'm going to be and I know where you're going to be, and we've done this 1,000 times, so this is really easy. And the goal he took was really good. And my biggest takeaway when I saw that goal was, man, he is a completely different player for Germany, because he doesn't take that ball the same way for Chelsea, and he does not finish it. And to me, it's just all confidence. He doesn't believe he can do that for Chelsea, and he's shown that he's lacking in that department for Chelsea. And when you talk about the systems being different and more opportunities, less opportunities, I don't really agree with that, because I think he's had plenty of opportunities to show what he can do for Chelsea. It's just that killer instinct and that not self-doubt, because guys like him need to be able to just take it first time and kind of go with it and not think about what you're going to do or, where people are going to be. And so to me, it's just all confidence. That's all it is for it.
So maybe this is me just trying to read the tea leaves here and conspiracy theory and all that. But we noticed a couple weeks ago, Timo Werner, started putting on the brakes when people were coming in. That he wasn't necessarily getting the balls that he was getting for the first year and a half he was at Chelsea. Add that to this statement, and the fact that it's very well known that there is interest from Bayern, from Dortmund. Last year there was interest from Real Madrid. There are suitors for Timo, and so this just kind of was a red flag for me, big red flag of maybe he's checked out. Maybe he's like, this summer I'm out. And I think the statement kind of solidifies that, at least in my mind. But Parker, like you said, these guys are going to be asked these questions, especially the German media is known to be kind of brutal. I think that's just kind of a German thing. So who knows? I guess we'll see in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, I think you could be completely right though, Collins. I'll go back and say that he might be out. He might not be coming back, and he might not be up for the challenge. We've signed big name players before and they haven't worked out and they've gone their own way and they want to be where they are comfortable. And if that's not where Timo is, then he might be checked out. And seeing such a difference in that level, maybe it does read into it. I wasn't thinking about that when you made the statement, but you might be onto something there.
And you think, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, it's again, different players, different personalities, right? Some thrive, others don't. Timo's a very quiet individual, right? And we saw that like early on with Kai, right? Very quiet, very soft spoken. That we saw him get into that tussle, right? Where he's not backing down anymore, right? He learned how to adapt. He knows his role, things like that. I think with Timo, it's a very interesting scenario, right? Because when we had him, he started off on a tear, right? His first season, he started off on an absolute tear. And then maybe it got to one of those things where people figured him out. And maybe he is kind of a one-trick pony, like he's just the fast guy that you sign in FIFA and just have him blow by defenders. Maybe people just figured that out. And I don't know what else Timo has. Maybe he does have more than meets the eye, but and we haven't seen it. Who knows? But that's ultimately, I think, going to be up to him. And again, maybe it is the system just doesn't fit what he wants to do, or maybe it's not best suited for an environment that makes him thrive in the ways that we've seen before. It's very possible, right? Because when he was with Leipzig, he was just playing up top the whole time, kind of on an island and just making those runs just past midfield, right? And then he could outrun anybody. You don't really see that with him now. And again, whatever the case is, you have to give it to him. He does bust his ass when he's on there. Like we've never commented like, he looks sluggish. He wasn't, doing little things. He wasn't really giving a lot of effort. That's never been the case. Like he's going to go full bore for 90 plus if he has to. Like that's never been a question. It might be one of those scenarios where he's almost trying to he's trying to like work too hard and just make things happen. Kind of like we were talking about with Mount, right? Trying to do too much and just not let the game come to him. He might be in that scenario right now.
And if he's mentally in a rut, he's lost confidence and all that. We're all former collegiate athletes, and how would you feel? You go into a season, there are two people at your position. You're probably 1B, right? Rom would be 1A, Vern's 1B at the beginning of the season. We Parker, I remember asking you the question on the very first episode: is that enough at striker? Do we need more depth at striker? And apparently the club's answer was no, we don't. Which I mean has worked, but you look at it from Timo's perspective, it's like they're playing Pulisic as a false nine. They've moved Kai to striker. I think Cho played striker for a game. That's it. It's demoralizing to be 1B and then all of a sudden you're playing behind all these guys playing out of position. So I can see where, things just kind of snowball for him.
That's a tough place to play. If you're not producing today, who's next? It's a very quick, next man up sort of mentality at Chelsea. And if they can't go out and buy someone, they might bring someone up for the youth academy and they'll give them a shot because they've got spoils of talent and not afraid to deploy it.
So speaking of other people leaving, Jorginho was in the news this week. Not him directly. It was his agent. I believe it's João Santos. And after or before Italy's match, where they were eliminated from the World Cup, he came out and said, quote, "Playing in Serie A is a dream for him," talking about Jorginho, "and his heart remains there. As things stands, he could play for 4 or 5 clubs: Milan, Inter, Juve, Roma, or Napoli. There are many clubs interested in him. In the past, I've spoken with PSG, Barcelona, and Milan." And this is after last week, us hearing from his very same agent that Jorginho is kind of unsure as to what's happening with the ownership situation. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like the uncertainty. And so he's trying to explore elsewhere. So Matt, I put the ball on the tee for you. Go ahead and fire away.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
I think Matt might need a refill or something.
No, I just brought a box to help him pack. That's all. I just had a box just kind of waiting here in the office just to help him out. Fine. Like, as much shit as I give him, he has been good for the club. He's been very professional in a lot of things. However, we've seen what can happen after one good year. He had one really good year. You could argue 2 under Sarri, but that kind of chalked that up as a wash because there was nobody really doing a whole lot. So when he's the one that can kind of stand out, you're not going up against much. I don't think that he's the same player. Kova is somebody who has overtaken him, I think, as far as a starting 11 role. I think you would want Kova out there more than you would want Jorginho. Conte is going to be Conte, right? I think depending on the system that you're going up against, yes. Depending on if there's too much pressure in the back and you need somebody to come in and distribute, yes. But as far as a day in, day out, who do you want in your starting 11? I don't think he makes the cut with our formation and having those two midfielders of Kova and Conte. So I am all for it. I appreciate everything he's done for the club. I just haven't seen the same caliber this year that I would expect my number 3 ranked midfielder in the world to produce.
I'm struggling to wonder what the motivation would be for an agent to say this. And is open for debate. So if anyone wants to chime in, please do. But the only thing I can think of is he's fallen a little bit out of form and he's fallen a little bit out of favor from Tuchel. And you've seen Tuchel in the big games, in the Liverpools and the Cities, those big games, not go to Jorginho. And so as an agent, you're trying to put your client in the best light possible. And the only thing I can think of is naming 5 clubs or 6 clubs to try to create a bidding war. Is that like, to try to kind of pit people like, hey, he could go to any of these places. So everyone step up and make bids and hopefully I can get my client the best deal possible because they're afraid of, just no one making big name bids for it. That's the only thing I can think of. And I think the writing's on the wall for him. I think Chelsea can get decent value for him in the market and he's fallen out of favor. And, I think it's going to be just sort of a mutual respect passing of torches on the way out. I feel bad for Jorginho not being able to make the World Cup again. I think this is the 2nd straight World Cup that he's missed. And I like seeing him on big stages. I think, when watching him with the Euros and in that system and that team, they were great, and he was great. And I love seeing him in pressure moments taking penalties, because he's one of the few players for Chelsea that I really do trust taking a penalty, which isn't nothing, right? It's still a big thing, and it's still a big thing for me. So I just think it's just time. I think everyone kind of sees it, and I think that this to me, Collins, is more of the writing on the wall of someone leaving the club, more so than Timo. I think this is his exit.
And you're right about Italy missing a second straight World Cup. I think I read somewhere it's going to be, the next time they potentially play a group stage match, it'll have been 2,800 days since their last group stage match, which, for reference, Spurs have not won a trophy in 5,145 days. So they're reaching Spurs territory. But
yeah, I feel like it's unfair to compare Italy to Spurs. That's just
they're masters of bottling.
That seems a little harsh.
But anyways, Parker, I think that your point is spot on about trying to create a bidding war and all that. And I'll take it one step further. He's out of contract next summer, so he's trying to stir up interest, kind of like Cho's agent, I believe it's Cho's father, did with Bayern, to get that new contract. Because as we all know, new contracts, commissions, transfers, commissions, agents make big money on that stuff. So is Jorginho committed? The signs say no. I think you're right. It's the writing on the wall for him. But I think this is posturing to either get a last big contract from Chelsea, which we've seen we're not willing to do for guys over 30, bar Thiago Silva. But cool. It's gonna be if it's going to be a bidding war, perfect. That I think that works in Chelsea's best interest, because you're going to have Billy Gilmore coming back, you're going to have Connor Gallagher coming back, Ethan Ampadu coming back, as well as hopefully we're able to sign some people, maybe a Declan Rice. But looking at transfermarket.com, Jorginho valued at $49.5 million. It's a nice little chunk of change for a guy who is a rotation piece at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying like his career is done, right? Like, he still has a lot to offer. I just don't think that with Chelsea, with the influx of youth that we do have flowing through this club right now, I don't see it. I don't see him staying. I don't see, how he can kind of recoup that former spot that he had as, like, yeah, he's your number one. Like, he's got to be out there. And I'll say it right now, we're probably going to be having the same conversation about Conte next year. I really do. He's going to be 31, 32, something like that. So he's going to be in that same territory. And with his injury history that we've seen over the last few years, at what point do you say, well, how much is half of Conte versus paying a full Conte who's not always going to be there? So, I just think that it's time. And again, he's been very professional with everything that he's done. And the fact that it wasn't him saying it, it was his agent, that's a little bit different. But we've seen it specifically at this club over the last year and a half, since Tuchel's been kind of in control. You see a new form of professionalism with everything that goes on, right? We saw it a little bit with Christensen. He got froze out, but he was still coming in, playing, doing what he needed to do. We see it with Rudy, day in, day out, right? He's in contract disputes. He's still slapping that badge like it owes him money. Like, he is still heart and soul with this club. I think Jorginho's the same way. Thiago Silva, right? Somebody who is the epitome of professionalism and class. Like, you just see this kind of change within the club, and I think that it's a great thing. But to me, I think it's going to be a mutual separation, but I am not going to be upset to see him go.
I'm ready to fight you on that Christensen statement. That was the least professional contract negotiation ever. They had to freeze him out of the squad.
I'm talking about when he did play, when obviously he got froze out because of the contract negotiations. I'm not talking about the contract. I'm talking about when he was out there playing. He was still busting his ass doing what he needed to do. And when you have arguably your most professional players being your center backs, and he's one of them, yeah, you're gonna have to, shape up or ship out. And I think, he's kind of learned that. And obviously there were talks of him going to Barca at the end of the season with I think it was agreed upon, but he's still going out there and playing. He's still going out there. He's still working hard. He's still playing the game the way that it should be played. So I think that falls onto a new professionalism that we do see at this club nowadays.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I can't fault you on that one.
That you're in no condition to fight right now.
I know, right? All right. So I feel like it's always the elephant in the room here. We got to talk about the ownership situation. Initially, the shortlist was said that it was going to be out, I think it was Tuesday. It was going to be 3 groups. We are now up to 5, and it was released on Friday. This is starting to look like a little bit of a shit show here. According to Matt Law, for the shortlist bidders, Chelsea are insisting there's a £1 billion commitment. There will be fan consideration as to who gets the awarded bid. And there was one other item here. That $1 billion had to go towards the academy, transfers, and expansion of Stamford Bridge. I'm all for all of that. I'm not for all of the groups, though. All the groups bidding. We saw some of our favorites get bounced. We saw Saudi Media Group go. We saw Nick Candy go. And yet we're stuck with Ricketts. Ricketts, Bowley, the owner of the Celtics / Atalanta. And then there were 2 other ones that didn't really ring a bell to me. Do we have a favorite out of the group? Is there a group you think will uphold the most of that?
I think so. I think the favorite that I've seen is Bowley, and I think there's still some reservations. I think a lot of people don't want it to be an English or a United States owner, American owner, and I kind of get why they're thinking that way. But I think Bowley's the clear favorite from a spending perspective and just sort of a way you look at teams and commitment to clubs. And when you look at the Dodgers ranking and spending, we've talked about it on podcasts prior. Where the Dodgers are in spending, where the Lakers are in spending, and just Bowley's kind of commitment to, franchises become more valuable when they win, and let's freaking win. That's what we're here to do. So it feels like the best of a bad situation. And like you said, Collins, I think some of the people we were more favorited towards are out, but at this stage, I think anyone but Ricketts is going to be just okay with Chelsea fans. A lot of Chelsea fans were really upset that they were on the short list, just with all of the controversy around the Ricketts family. So I think they were just even disappointed that they got this far and others didn't. So anyone but Ricketts is good with me at this stage. It's all kind of even. But Matt, what says you?
Bowley. That's honestly. Sorry, my dogs are going on. Collins, I'll flip it over to you while my dogs simmer down.
I'm on it. I'm Team Bowley. There's some questions about, he's only got 20% stake in the consortium. He's only got 20% stake in the Dodgers, 27% in the Lakers. So what does he actually do? I don't know. You look at the track record of those teams, and it's to win, and it's to acquire the best talent, regardless of the price. the best basketball player on the planet, LeBron James, going to the Lakers. I was talking about this on Twitter this week. You look at the Dodgers in a sport where it's normally, you're maybe 1.5 players deep at every position. They're 5 deep at every position, and they are all top talent. It's unfair. I hate the Dodgers, but I respect what they do. And even if he's not calling the shots, we've seen in both of those franchises that he and his group will put in smart people who have authorization to go out and spend, to use analytics, to use to use everything available to them to go out and win championships. So he's my number one. And then there's also the one that also intrigues me is oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher the name. I'm bad at Italian. Stephen Pagliuca, owner of the Celtics and Atlanta. I don't really know a whole lot about the guy. The Celtics are a good franchise. Atlanta seems to always be nipping at the heels of people in Serie A. But again, he'd probably have to sell off his share in that, and I don't see that being a quick sale. So in short, Team Bowley.
Did we ever figure out who the mystery bidder was? Was it who I thought it was? Omen Abramovich?
I wish. No, it wasn't.
I thought it was the Celtics guy because I thought he kind of came to the party late, so I thought that was the mystery bidder.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I thought he was already in. Like they had a mystery bidder, and that was, I think, that came out after. I thought, but I could be wrong. I don't know. And I'll be honest, I haven't kept up too much with it. Are Harrison Blitzer still in the running, or are they out? The 76ers owners.
No, they're out.
Okay. Yeah, Team Bowley. You have somebody with a proven track record of being able to manage franchises and manage them successfully. And I think that's what you need, especially when you're dealing with a franchise this big, right? We all know the history with the Lakers. We all know there's history with the Dodgers, right? And he's the owner of DraftKings, which is one of the biggest sports gambling markets in the world. So he's a smart individual. He knows what he's doing. Him and his group, his investment group, they know what they're going after. And I think that in today's world of football, you need to be able to spend, right? It's tough to do in baseball. It is possible, but it's tough to do. It's very tough to do in world soccer, right? We saw it with Leicester. But at the end of the day, when you're having more and more investors come into these clubs, when you're talking about the group that took over Newcastle, when you're talking about that kind of fun money to them, yeah, it's going to change a lot of things. And I think with a club as consistent, with a proven track record under the Abramovich era with Chelsea, I think you have to keep that going. And I think they know what they're doing. And Colin's like what you said, if they don't know, they will find the right people that do know, and they will get them in. So I'm definitely in agreement, Team Bowley.
So what's priority number one? New ownership takes over regardless of who it is, Ricketts, Bowley, et cetera, et cetera. What's the one thing that you're looking for them to do to gain your trust?
Ricketts out. Whether they own or not, I don't care. If they're the owners, fine. I want them gone. Prove to me that you're actually a fan of, that you're actually an ownership group of the people. Get out.
I like that. I like that term, ownership of the people.
Yeah. Get the fuck out. Like, we don't want you here. It's been well known for a long time that nobody likes you. People in Chicago don't even like you, and you own their team. So let's kind of take a crack at that one. But I think the biggest thing that you have to do if you are the new ownership of Chelsea, you have to show your commitment right away to the club. I know with Roman it was tough for him to be at a lot of games, but that has to be your one of your main priorities, because if we're using Bully as an example, the Lakers, the Dodgers, collectively, their net worth is not going to add up to Chelsea. Right? So that's got to be your number one interest, right? You're spending that much money. That's got to be your number one priority. That's what I think, especially when you're coming into a brand new club, a brand new ownership group, into a brand new sport that you're not completely familiar with. That is a very fan opinionated, probably even more so than basketball or baseball. You need to make a statement, and you need to show that you are there for the club day in, day out. I think that is the biggest thing that whoever takes over, that's what they need to do.
I think spending is obviously the first thing you can do to show commitment to, the club, but I want some solid moments with the Chelsea Supporters Trust and establishing the right people. I want clarity on people like Marina. I want clarity on people like Tuchel. I want clarity on a lot of the things that are in place. I want to hear about the plan for Stamford Bridge. I know that a lot of talk is going around expanding it and making it a little bit bigger, a little bit more modern. And I just want to hear what their vision is for that. These first few months with the new owner, I just want it to be pretty communicative. I want it to be more communication than less. And usually I don't think that way. Usually I want owners to kind of own and then be in the background a little bit and not be in the limelight. But I think it's really important to say a lot of the right things from those perspectives, getting the fans comfortable with what your vision is, because this has not been an easy process for all of us. We're all kind of on edge a little bit, and we're all a little worried what's going to happen to our club. And, put your arm around me a little bit and tell me it's going to be all right. Tell me, and the spending part, I'm the least worried about, especially in the near term, because these guys all have money. So I'm not worried that they're going to come in and want to spend. I'm worried that the institutions that we have are going to not look the same or not feel the same. So those are the few things that they can do to help me through the transition.
And Matt, I was curious because you made the comments about net worth for the Dodgers and the Lakers, and I did not know the Dodgers are worth $4 billion and the Lakers are worth $4.4 billion.
All right,
with that being
the asshole, I stand corrected.
well, no, you're right, because with that being said, this sale of Chelsea will be the richest, or most expensive sale of a professional sports team in global history. So regardless of net worth, your point is well taken there. I was just curious, so I looked it up. There's a lot that new owners can do, whether it's investing in the women's team, revamping Cobham, the stadium, which seems to be a big topic. But honestly, what's going to impact me the most is, Parker, like you said, to get the pitch owners and the supporters trust involved. I would like both of those organizations to have a seat on the board. Chelsea has been historically very good at communicating with the fans. We saw it especially with the Super League last year and the protests outside Stamford Bridge, and Petr Cech coming out there to ease everybody. I would like more of that. And I saw it floated with Nick Candy's bid of, he wanted to create a program where fans could buy into the club, literally purchase into the club. We have it here in Wisconsin with the Green Bay Packers to a degree. We see it in the German leagues all the time. I think it's 51% of ownership has to be the fans in Bundesliga clubs. I would love for an opportunity to purchase a piece of my club and have my voice known. I'm not sure how easy that is to do with this whole transaction, but I think that would go a long way to easing a lot of people's concerns. So we did talk about spending, and that kind of leads us into our question here. Oh no, I exited out of it. All right, so we did have a question this week from our buddy Lennox _10_ Twitter. Yes, what would be our ideal starting 11 next year? Next season, a realistic ideal starting 11. Matt, I know you were working on it pre-pod here, so we'll start with you here. What's your go-to 11 for 2022, 2023?
All right. Kai up top. I think with what he's shown, you got to keep him there. I'm going to say Mount on the right wing. I think he has shown comparatively to Christian. I think Christian has more dips in form and longer dips in form than Mason. So for that reason, I'm going with a little bit more consistency. And you guys are going to love this one and hate it at the same time. I want my boy. I want Chiesa on the left. I want him on the left. He is somebody that is produced not only domestically, but internationally. He did damn well in the Euros. He's young. Yes, I know he's coming off an ACL injury, but guess what? So is my left back. So at that point, I can't even really compare it. So I want Chiesa as my left wing. Chills as the left wing back. I think we're all in agreement on that. Reese as the right wing back. Again, I don't think there's really any questions on that. Midfield, Kova and Declan Rice. Again, Rice has been linked to the club for probably the last two summers at least. And he's a Chelsea Academy boy, so I think now's the right time to bring him back. I think you'd make a big difference in the squad. Back three. You know him, you love him. Pay that man, Mr. Rudiger. He is somebody who is like, if you were to personify like this Chelsea team, that's Rudiger, right? Just bombing runs, shithousery to a whole new level that would make John Terry blush. Just all this fun shit, the way that he acts, everything that he does, like everybody's afraid of him. And, we always talk, don't piss him off. Don't give him a reason to get involved. Absolutely love that man. So he would be one of my center backs. Thiago Silva, we've talked about it enough already. Just class personified, just an absolute master of his craft. He's 37 and he's still one of the best center backs in the world. And that's not even a contest. Third center back. Another big signing. Matthias de Ligt. Bring him in.
Welcome to the team.
Bring him in. Well, who else do we have? We have Trev and possibly Christensen if that whole Barcelona thing isn't whatever. But again, you get him out there. I do think that he's going to learn from Silva. He's going to learn from Rudy. He's learned from Chiellini, Bonucci. Like, he has a lot of experience for somebody his age, just based on who he's played with and everything that he's learned. And then you throw in Silva and Rudy to that equation. Yes, I am all about that. Also, I did notice one thing that I would like to amend with my starting 11. I will take Ziyech over Mount. I failed to realize that until I started making my way across back from the left wing back to the right. I was like, oh, that's right. So I will amend. I will take Ziyech over Mount. And then, keeper's not even a question. Right.
Kepa, right?
Bettinelli. I don't see a reason why he can't get a fair shake.
Rhys Taylor.
Yes. But yeah, Mendy in goal. And that would be my ideal starting 11 for next season, pending ownership.
All right. Well, mine is I as you were talking, had to made a couple edits to mine. I had Delict in there. So I remember making all the very same points that you made just a couple months ago, and you said no.
Collins,
I took him out.
Collins, that was before we had a change in ownership, and before we learned that Christensen was going to be out, and Trev has had a fair shake of injuries lately. So yeah,
That's
you
fair.
kind of need to solidify that.
So in mine, I agree with you with Kai up top. My wings are Ziyech, so I agree with you there, and Rafinha from Leeds. I've got a midfield three of Conor Gallagher, N'Golo Kante, and Mateo Kovacic. And then I have a back four of Reece James, Jules Koundé, Thiago Silva, Ben Chilwell, and then of course Rhys Taylor in goal.
Rudy?
I think he's gone.
Explain the midfield. How does the midfield work in that system?
Thank you.
You've got Connor and Kova, box to box, and Conte is your holding. And in a 4-3-3, you don't need the pivot. So that's what I got.
And who are your center backs again?
Conde and Silva.
Okay. I think you still need something of a pivot.
For what? We talked earlier in the season, Thiago Silva is one of the best distributors of the ball that we have.
He is. I completely agree with you. But you want to rely fully on your center back to be your pivot.
In a four at the back, yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Matt, I'll let you think about that. I'll give my lineup in the meantime.
Go ahead.
I'll start the other way because it's more fun for me. Edouard Mendy in goal.
Who?
We're yeah, that one guy, right? We're running a 3-4-3, by the way. So you've got Rudy, Silva, and I also had Jules Koundé. So we were the same there, Collins. Wingbacks pretty easy, Chills and James. Midfield, I have Kova, and because Jorginho's leaving, we need a pivot, and so I said that you pick up Pogba on a free.
I like
strong,
that.
physical. He can take contact. Matt, he's a better Jorginho in the sense that Jorginho gets that contact and just falls down. Pogba's a bigger body, can actually stand up to it, turn, and then distribute. He's like a Ruben Loftus-Cheek where he likes to turn up and go, except he can play that pivot role as well. So he's got a bigger body, but actually is kind of the marriage between Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho. So that's why I picked him there.
And I like that because we were talking about Timo checking out. Pogba's been checked out. So you can't take what he's done this year seriously, or the last 2 years for that matter, because he's playing on a team that has no chance of winning anything. So he's a competitor. Playing in Chelsea, I like that. I think he'd thrive.
And Condé's French too, right?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. So at least bringing two French guys together, I think could help just sort of the transition of a new team, new system. I think it could reinvigorate his career. Then left wing, this one was tough for me. Left wing, I put Kai out there. Ideally, I would have wanted him in the middle as well, but that spot went to Holland. So I had to make one big signing because it's new ownership, and new owners can come in and make a big deal if there's any time that we make that kind of boom, here we are moment, it's this year. And so I didn't want to go crazy and bring in an entire new team, but I thought could be realistic, somewhat realistic to get one big striker in there. And then I agree with you, Matt, Ziyech on the right wing. And this really kind of a dangerous team that's got Ziyech putting in balls to a streaking Kai and Holland and a pretty strong defense. I mean, who says no, right? Who says no?
I can see Matt says no.
So I don't know enough about Koundé to really have a dog in that fight. So I'm gonna let that one go. Paulie Pogs. I don't want that kind of head case on the team. I really don't. Look at everywhere that he's gone. He's been a head case. He has had more attention on him off the field than on the field. That's what he does. Like
I would say that's been primarily at Manchester United. Juve love him. They've wanted him back since they sold him. I think he was a glue in that team.
Then why sell him?
Big money.
I'm just saying, like, if that's the case, then he's quote unquote expendable. Because you can go out and buy other pieces to make that up. And ever since he went to Man U, he has been kind of non-existent for most of his career there, at least, right? He was out for, I don't know, it was probably 3-4 months under Mourinho. Like, he never saw the pitch. And again, he's a great talent. He really is. He's a world-class midfielder. I'm worried about what's going on between his ears. That to me is my biggest worry. And I don't think you splash that kind of money to get him. If it's going to, even if it's a free, you got to get him for a low price, because I'm not paying somebody 250,000 pounds a week to, cause more shit off the field after the offseason that we're going to have. I'm not willing to jeopardize that and everything that we're trying to move towards for one player. I think that's why somebody like a Declan Rice fits that mold a lot better.
He was my other one. But I mean, when you think about it, Matt, like if you pay a $32 million transfer fee and you were to convert all of that into salary, like that's a pretty decent salary, like per week. And so you're paying none of that for Pogba. And so you might be able to get away with paying him $200,000 a week. And it would be, I'm not doing the math here, in real time, but it could be the equivalent of like getting Declan Rice for $10 million and then, adjust the salary to make it kind of equal. If you're not paying a transfer fee, you can put a lot more towards the salary and it evens out in the end.
And I guess the other thing, when we've obviously talked about this at length, specifically with Chelsea, is the Premier League maybe a little bit too chaotic for him, right? Serie A is pretty even keel. Like, he thrived there. We all know that, right? That's why Juve got such a big price for him. I don't think that him being like all that flashy, like as we saw him with Juve, like you don't see any of those Pogba wonder strikes really with Man U anymore. You see a little bit, you see the distribution, you see a little bit of the one-on-one play, but you're not seeing the same Pogba that was at Juve, right? And I just don't know if it's a case of he went to the wrong team, he had the wrong managers, he was wrong system, or if at the end of the day, maybe it's something like a Rom, right? Went to Serie A, put up huge numbers, and now he came back to the Premier League, and that's what we got. I would like somebody that is tried and true in the Premier League with Declan Rice who is day in, day out on starting 9 or on starting 11 for a team that has risen up the Premier League over the last few seasons, and he has been the center point of that team.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Statman.
Paul Pogba, 1 goal, 9 assists in 16 matches this year. That's a pretty decent output, right? For a team that doesn't score a lot of goals, right? Would you agree? It's more than our midfield does.
Or we're on the first day, but yeah, other than that, it sort of was an outlier stat, but still a stat.
But then you look at careers in the Premier League. Matt, you talk about a guy who's proven in the Premier League in Declan Rice. Declan Rice has played more games in the Premier League by 6, 159 to 153. Declan Rice has 6 goals and 8 assists in that time. Paul Pogba has 29 goals and 38 assists. Who's more proven in the Premier League?
I'm still going to go with Declan Rice.
That's fine, but you can't say that Declan Rice is more proven in the Premier League. If you want a guy who's proven
with his job, yes. If you're talking about output, that's different. If you're talking about Declan Rice as a midfielder, and let's not get this thing out of scope, right? We're talking about West Ham, who for a number of years was relegation to mid-table at best on a good year, now to a team who is coming up and fighting for Europa League, at sometimes Champions League. Let's compare those teams. If Pogba's playing with Man U versus Declan Rice playing with West Ham, and Declan Rice is having to do all of this stuff on his own, and he's having to be basically play every position known to man, right? We see him make darting runs all the time, having to go full-blown box to box by himself. Yeah, people are going to start shutting you down. It's like,
right, but don't you want the guy who has European experience? Don't you want the guy who has played those weeknights in the Champions League as opposed to the Europa League with West Ham? I mean,
what's more important to you, Premier League or Champions League?
Well, Pogba is better at both, and he's cheaper.
I think for what you're getting, as far as long-term and somebody that is going to be there and not check out, I think that your safest bet is going to be Declan Rice. If you have to pay more, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with paying more for somebody that I can rely on versus somebody who is very erratic, Mario Balotelli-ish, if you will, and as opposed to Pogba.
You can't shake your head, no, Collins. He is Mario Balotelli-esque.
Paul Pogba is not consistently suspended every other weekend for blowing off fireworks in his apartment.
Give it time.
The two things I'll say, Matt. One is I heavily consider Declan Rice. So if we end up getting Rice, I'm totally fine with it. But Pogba on a free, to me, makes a ton of sense because his contract is up, and so he is coming up on a free. And when I looked, I'll reiterate the point I made earlier, which is I was looking at our team, keeping the system consistent year over year, needing a big body pivot, taking Jorginho's role and kind of elevating it to the next step. I think that there's no one better that can do that for the price, like for a free transfer coming in. My biggest fear with Declan Rice is that we're going to overpay for him, and he'll dip in form because you go from a team where you have complete freedom to playing in a little bit more rigid of a system where you don't have complete freedom to do everything to kind of shine and to take the spotlight. You're playing in Chelsea's system now. This isn't your system anymore. This is Tuchel's system. And what we've seen is a lot of people coming in and sort of dipping in form from a personal level or an output level. And then the sum of our parts leads to a kind of a bigger, better Chelsea, which wins a lot of matches. You kind of have to sacrifice your personal gain for the team's success a little bit. And so my fear is that we would overpay for him because his transfer price is pretty high, if I'm not mistaken.
West Ham just said they're asking for 120 million pounds. So yeah, Parker, I mean that doesn't fit your system either, because you're going out and spending 100 million on Holland.
That crossed my mind as well, right? Like I already spent the big money up top on a striker, because that's our biggest need still, even though Kai's more proven than anyone else. I still have Kai in my lineup, but I still think that the big name striker could deliver in a system that works.
So my other thing that I want to say about, or two other things. So Parker, I completely understand like the whole thing. You get Pogba on a free. Yeah, I think it's worth a flyer from a business standpoint. And Tuchel has been known to manage to the best of his ability high ego, high profile people. Obviously his falling out with PSG is something to look at, but again, I don't think that's on him. The thing that I don't like is that when you talk about, a dip in form, we're not expecting Declan Rice to score goals. We're not expecting our midfield to score goals even today. So you don't need those kind of numbers or anything like that. I think he gives you the flexibility where he could be that defensive holding. He can play center back if he needs to, right? He can do all those things. Pogba, I don't think anybody really knows what his best position is still. Is he just a central mid? Is he a defensive holding mid? Is he more of like an attacking mid? We don't know his position. And it varies almost like team to team. So you really don't know where to slot him, what's going to be best. It's kind of like what we talked about with Mace. What's his best position? We don't really know. It's for him, it's just kind of free form, right? And if you're talking about somebody who thrives in free form, yes, Pogba does, but so does Declan Rice. They both thrive in that environment. But who is somebody that you can get to buy into a system easier? It's going to be Declan Rice. There's no question about that. And I think once you fall into that scenario of if Pogba were to come, like I wouldn't be upset about it, right? I really wouldn't be heartbroken over it. Again, he's a great talent. I just don't know what Paul Pogba I'm going to get. And that's what worries me. I know what Declan Rice I'm going to get. And I'm confident in saying that.
And that's like, I fully like, I think Declan Rice is going to be good no matter where he goes. But, you look historically at players going from Europa League / mid-table clubs to a top 4 club. And what comes to mind is all those guys from Southampton going to Liverpool who bombed out. You got Nathaniel Klein, Adam Lallana, Ricky Lambert. Like you have all those guys who they shine. You got Danny Drinkwater going from Leicester to Chelsea. You're going from a situation where, yes, I'm the star, to now I have to buy in and be a potential, role player, rotation guy, something like that. So playing the odds, I think Pogba is the safer bet. He has the higher floor. Declan Rice has the higher ceiling.
I was gonna say that too, Collins, where Pogba's 29, so if for a long-term signing, he's not the best, solution out there. Rice has age on his side a little bit more.
And I want to ask this: take the free transfer out of it, right? Because that seems to be the big argument, right? Is you get him on a free. What happens if you don't get him on a free? Let's say arguably they're the same transfer fee, things like that. Who do you take?
Well, but I don't know. That just kind of kills the entire debate, because because it's we're either spending a lot and then paying high wages on a young guy, hoping that he's your midfielder for the next 10 years, or you're getting a world superstar on a free for 2 years and you're only paying his salary. So that's the whole debate. It's not necessarily like who would you take, like heads or tails.
I'm saying
look at all these
financials. It's a financial decision at the end of the day, right? Because that just answered that. It's a financial decision. You're taking Pogba on a free because it's a free. Would you actually want to pay a transfer fee for Paul Pogba right now?
Depends what it was.
That's what
they're all financial. The finances are the great equalizer here, because what you get a player for, that's, if you get someone for 30 and someone else for 30, now you can start to directly compare them because they were, arguably the same amount of money. When you start comparing value at dollars, that's the debate. Like there's no perfect equation for that. So like to your point, Matt, it's almost impossible to say if one person costs 120 million and the other's free, like they're very different. I think there's more value at Pogba free than Declan Rice at 120.
Right. And I honestly, I agree with that. I really do. Like, I understand the whole thing of the free transfer over Declan Rice, but then you're still going to have to find somebody else in 2 years after he checks out after 6 months.
But what's to say with Declan Rice that you wouldn't have to find somebody to replace him in 2 years, and then you can't recoup your $120 million cost?
He's got a better head on his shoulders than Pogba and a consistent haircut.
He does, but he might not be worth 120 million as well. Like that's the other side of the coin, is he might underperform his dollars as well.
Using Rom as the good example here. Like, was he $100 million striker coming out of Italy? Like, looking at his stats, yeah, probably. But we're, up shit's creek at the moment because we're never going to be able to recoup that cost because he's been a bust. So it is the safer buy going to buy a proven player on a free than spending that much on a midfielder that you're not going to be, as you said, expected to score or assist.
That also, I would love to have.
What?
We weren't expecting
Jorginho
to score and assist.
Jorginho wasn't $120 million.
Everybody you buy now for a transfer fee is going to be astronomical. That's just the way the world football is. And we all know that. There's no way Rom should have been $100 million. And I think everybody and their mother knows that.
That begs the question, because should we then, should we chase after it? Now, I'll eat my own words. Should we chase after someone like Haaland if we have the ability to buy him? Or should we try to, underbuy, buy someone less, like a B tier striker or B tier whatever, or rock with Kai and not chase after the biggest, hottest name out there and pay those ridiculous funds? I mean, that's a real debate.
And who's on a free this year is first of all, not Haaland, Mbappe, but also Luis Suarez. He'd be a good 1 or 2 year.
No,
I don't want him.
Second option.
No,
bite some people.
No, absolutely not.
I'm just saying,
with that overbite, he's going to take somebody's arm off. Oh wait, he's tried to do that before, multiple times. No, he can stay at Atletico or go back to Liverpool. I don't really care. He can replace Mo Salah. How about that?
That's an interesting one. I wonder where he goes.
Brazil.
Mo Salah?
No, Luis Suarez.
I'm asking about Salah. If Salah leaves,
he's going to go to Madrid or Barcelona.
I think he stays. Gets 400,000 a week. That's a question for the next time Joe Mach is on the pod. All right. Well, with that, I was joking. I did not write a script for this, and I really should. But we're going to close out the pod here. you can follow us on any social media. Follow the pod at Flag Down Pod, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at Comiskey North. You can follow Parker at DJ Parkour, and you can follow Matt at Atus Lee. We are on Twitch. We're actually on Twitch right now, live streaming. We're going to do that every Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time. So go ahead and give us a follow there. If you like the podcast version, you can find us basically anywhere, that Spotify, Google, et cetera, et cetera. Again, just search the Flag Stays Down podcast. Boys, it's been a pleasure. I'm gonna go sleep and hopefully feel better.
Sounds good. Hope you feel better, man.
Yeah, thanks for toughing it out, big guy.
Cheers, boys.
Later.
Cheers.
I'm all potted out.